In this video, I'm gonna talk about situations where basic tasks are very useful. So usually we recommend using standard Jira issues over basic tasks as they have more feature behind them and in many cases they are just better. But there are several cases where basic tasks are extremely helpful and we're gonna cover 3 of them in this video. This video is part of our ongoing effort to provide the best possible training around Jira, Confluence and whole Atlassian ecosystem. If you would like to support us, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and remember that you can always reach out to us for one of our paid services like trainings, consultations or implementations. Okay, so let's start by saying very briefly what basic tasks are. So in BigPicture, normally in your box, which in my case is a clone project and is meant to represent the data in my project, BigPicture operates on Jira issues, right? So we have over here list of issues. We can plan them on the timeline, create dependencies on them, put them in specific iterations. So we are doing all this planning on Jira issues. But this means that if we want to have next elements over here, we need to create another Jira issues, right? Which will be available for everyone who has permission to specific Jira project and specific issues. Of course, it depends on the permission settings for your projects. But now, BigPicture allows us also to create something called basic tasks, which are elements that are similar, that will seem similar to Jira issues, but these are actually not a Jira issue. So I will create a basic task called phase 1. Yeah, let's just leave the start and end date as they are. So you will see that new element over here appeared, but this exists nowhere else in Jira. So basically this exists only in BigPicture, but we can still do some planning over here, right? So we can set the start and end date, create dependencies and so on. So this can be very useful, although we cannot access this issue as normal Jira issue. And there are some limitations. We would not be able to log work on this issue, for example. We cannot comment on this issue. There is no history for this issue as for normal Jira issues. So these basic tasks are very, very limited. Still, they can be very helpful in some cases. Let's discuss them. So the first use case that I think is relevant over here is use these basic tasks for initial planning, right? So over here I have some Jira issues that I already planned, but let's say that I need to add more work to my project. But this work is not yet agreed with all the stakeholders. I just want to create, let's say, simulation and see how specific work breakdown structure would work. I could add several basic tasks. I will create just 2 or 3 another. That will be it. And I can start doing the planning. So yeah, I will expand it, I will move it around, create dependencies. I can see how my plan with these tasks would look like. You could do this also with standard Jira issues. But yeah, at certain stages you do not want to put a lot of information into Jira because most of it will have to be removed anyway. I can create over here 2 or 3 different plans on different set of basic tasks, then remove 3 of them or live with just the one that we agreed on, and it will just not unnecessarily clutter our Jira instance. Okay, but if I created that kind of basic plan, in the end, I may want to have these elements as Jira issues, right? Because, yeah, initial plan is initial plan. I need to start working on this. Fortunately, here BigPicture also addresses this. If I right click on one of these basic tasks, you can see that I have option here to convert to Jira issue. I can pick it, select in which project this should be created, and I will get a standard creation wizard with some of the information pre-filled, like reporter, start date. So you can see that it's pretty easy to go from this initial plan that we created that was maybe not yet confirmed, right to actual plan based on actual Jira issues. Another use case in which basic tasks can be very helpful are hierarchy building and grouping. So normally I would expect to have over here hierarchy of issues. So like epic, and the children of the epic would be tasks and stories. Below that subtasks. Mine is flat, but it doesn't bother us for now. Let's imagine that I have a developer team that is working on epics, tasks and subtasks. But for me as a project manager, I want to have some higher level plans. So maybe I want to group epics into the phases to know more or less which each phase will end and be aware where specific milestones will be located on our timeline. Obviously, I could create a separate issue type and group epics underneath, but that would be the case where developers would see that there is some issue type that they are not using. They could start asking questions and it would just be confusing for everyone. They do not need it and they do not use it. So basically it would just clutter their view. We can use basic tasks for that. So I created over here 2 basic tasks, phase 1, phase 2. And now I can just select multiple issues and drag and drop them within the phases. So yeah, you can see pretty easily I'm selecting moving multiple issues into phases. What is great about that is that you will see grouping information over here, right? So on the phase level, you will see grouped information or aggregated information from all the children. So yeah, this is pretty simple because all of my work is currently to do, but if I change that, the grouping information will also change in a moment. So the basic tasks are very useful if you want to do kind of a grouping that is specific to your project. Maybe you do not want to create the elements representing phases or groups as separate Jira issues. You just want to see aggregation and how these elements end up on the timeline based on start and end date of the children. So this is second very useful use case. And I think that this is one of the most often used. And the last use case, I think that my favorite one is related to the scenarios. So let's imagine that you have a project ongoing, the plan for the project was approved, and then change request comes in. Change request that will require you to replan your project and maybe get an approval for this new plan, right? How can you do this in BigPicture? So obviously, when it comes to replanning, you can create a new scenario. I will call it CR1. And over here in this new scenario, we can start moving tasks around and creating our updated plan. But now, scenarios are limited with the features. So I cannot create new tasks over here, which is not perfect. But here is where the basic tasks can be helpful. So I can switch back to live, create these new elements that I think I will need in my new plan after change request. And because this is something that will not yet be approved, This is something that, yeah, we're just playing around. We will ask for approval, and after approval is given, it will become a real plan. I do not want to create Jira issues for that, because, yeah, usually the moment the Jira issue is created, a lot of people start asking what it is and why we have that on our instance. So I will create basic task CR1 task. I will create 2 of them. Yep. So in my live scenario, I created 2 basic tasks related to the CR because they are basic tasks. They are not visible anywhere in BigPicture. Now I can switch over to my scenario, do the planning for this particular CR. Yeah, sorry, if I created CRs in a live, I cannot actually also create dependencies in my scenario. So I will go over here and create dependencies in my live plan. And now in scenario, I can do the actual planning, right? So I can move the tasks, I can decide how long do they take, and then I can ask stakeholders to look at this plan, look at this particular scenarios, ask them whether they are okay with that or not. And if everyone approves that, we can go back over here, merge it to live, and then the feature that I've shown you previously, create normal Jira issues. But thanks to the fact that we are using basic tasks and scenarios, we are able to create this alternative plan without really impacting data that is on Jira issue level. We are doing everything within BigPicture, which I find is very, very helpful. Okay, so that's it for the use cases I wanted to discuss. If you would like to know more about basic tasks, about their strengths and weaknesses, how you can incorporate them in your BigPicture setup, or how to address some other issues with BigPicture, some other challenges, let us know. I'm sure we will be able to help. And that's it for this video. Thanks, and see you in the next one.